You're listening to CMajor before the show, and school is out. Let me say that again. School is out. One more time. School is out. Thanks so much for tuning in today. And this is the new format for CMajor before the show. And so if you have a chance, join me later on over at the CMajor radio show. I'm going to say a little bit more about that a little bit later in the broadcast. But I'm excited. School is finally out. And what that means is there's no more homework. Usually I play that sound when there is homework to do, but there's no more homework. So what are you going to do over the summer? I would just encourage you to do some research. So today's topic is going to focus on mainly encouraging you to explore new teaching methods that are out there. If you are a teacher and you're networking with me in the greater New York City area, that's a topic that we tend to discuss once we get together. And then if you're a student, just use the time to do some research to find out some things that you'd like to bring to the table once school is in again, once fall begins. So I have students that are into recreational music making. I have students that are looking to strengthening their reading skills. I have students that are planning to catch up on music theory. So I hope that you have a chance to do all of those things and at the same time have some summer fun. So let me give you some student updates. I have some students that are doing some exciting things for the summer. They are finishing up their level and whatever level they are in their books and then going to the next level. And then I have students that are traveling out of the country for the summer. So lots of exciting things. Recitals are over, and so students are now using this time to either travel or they're using this time to just go on to the next level in their next level books. So that's basically what my students are doing, but I have some shout outs that I would like to give in particular to students that have finished their level. So the first shout out is going to go to the student who just finished level 1A, and is now moving on to level 1B. So a big shout out to that student. Yes, that's a pretty big deal because at one point we didn't even think that student was going to even make it to level 1A in the first place, and he did. So it was with the support, the great support of his parents, his family, his school teachers. They have really helped him to get to the next level for his music making, and it helps me when I'm working with him privately. So a big shout out to him. I have a shout out to another student that's going on to level 1A, leaving the primer level and going to level 1A. So a big shout out to him. It took him a while to get through the primer level, but it's only because he's a diligent student. He really likes to go through all of the steps and make sure everything is covered. He doesn't like skipping ahead. And because of that, that makes him a really great student. He tries really hard and is very consistent. So a big shout out for this student. You know, it's always very exciting to see students move up. I think that's really what they are aiming to do, just move up at their own pace. And so I really, really respect that. And sometimes you do get those students that want to compete with their peers, and they worry a little bit about the fact that they haven't moved up to a certain song, or they're not moving out of their book as quickly as they see their peers doing. But I just try to encourage them and say, you know what, you have to go at your own pace. So I really believe in that, and that's something that I tend to talk about a little bit more over at the CMajor radio show. That's more of the meat and potatoes of what I try to offer as I am doing my podcast, is just to offer before the show as a way to really connect with community and say, if you're in the greater New York City area and you happen to be studying piano lessons, hang in there, stay with it, you can do it. And then over at the CMajor radio show, I try to bring some real issues to the table, maybe some little bit more stories in more depth. And at the same time, I try to also offer a clearer foundation for your music making. So I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later this morning. Like I said, I will say something toward the end of this podcast. So it's a longer podcast, as you notice. I had been podcasting for 15 minutes, and now I'm up to 45 minutes, and I've decided, just from talking with parents, talking with students, asking them what they'd like to hear, that the breakdown of the show should be 15 minutes, student updates, student shoutouts, and then another 15 minutes talking about my piano teaching methods and some of the research that's going on, which is really today's topic. I'm talking about piano teaching methods, and then just giving you an idea of things that you can look into for yourself, and then any updates regarding how I'm starting to teach students just based on the feedback that I'm getting. And then the last 15 minutes, just really talking about what I'm doing in the community myself as a performer, also as someone who's doing podcasting, making any announcements, anything that may come across my desk that I want to have you turn your attention towards, something that you may want to take a look at if you are in this area of the country. So let's get back to our shout outs. So I have a shout out to students that are going to be either traveling out of the country or moving away altogether. So for my students that are traveling out of the country for the summer, big shout out to you. You know who you are, because you told me you're going to France, you're going to the West Coast for the summer, you're going to Berlin, you're traveling to Boston. And what I like is that you checked in with me and you said, I want to make sure I can practice while I'm away. Or you've said to me that you already have plans set up. You have an aunt that has a piano, or you know places that you can go where there's a piano for you to practice on, and that you want to keep your skills up throughout the summer. So big shout out to those students. I think that's great. Anytime I see young people that are really looking to continue their music making across the summer and they're not looking for excuses about why they can't practice, I think that's a great thing, especially in this day and age. I was talking with a friend of mine from high school and just chatting with him on social media, and he was just saying how it's just so great to see the dedication that we see in young students that really understand what it takes to make music, who are into music literacy, who have the focus to do it. It's a struggle, it's a hard thing to do, but they're doing it. So that just brings to mind the recent article that we were discussing from the New York Times that talks about two young girls that were premiering their music with the New York Philharmonic. They're 11 years old. I believe both of them are 11. And so just to see them really delving into music making, understanding what it takes to compose a piece, and then getting together with the orchestra members and then working with them to say, no, we'd like to have you to play it this particular way. They were really taking charge, being a boss about how they want their music to be played and performed. So a big shout out to those students. And then again, just a big shout out to my students that are taking charge of the music making over the summer. So I think that's great. Now, I do want to say a special shout out to my student who is moving away, who's moving to the southwest part of the U.S. She's super excited about it. She has family down there, and so she's going to be able to reconnect with family, and at the same time, she has plans already to continue her music making. So a big shout out to her. It's kind of a sad shout out, but I am really thrilled for her because whenever you can make plans with your family to continue what you've started somewhere else, I think that's great. So I know she's going to have a great time down there, and she was one of my best students, one of the ones that really paid close attention to the details and would call me out if I missed something. And what I really enjoyed about her is that she was super funny. I really mean it, haha. And we used to laugh so much together because she also likes to play music games. Yes, and they're fun music games. So maybe in the future I may do a show that's kind of dedicated to students that are into music games. In the past I've had parents that would request those music games, and then I've had students that said, can we take about 5 minutes to play a music game toward the end of class? And she was one of those students. So she came up with 2 original games that I recall, and sometimes when we have some extra time at the end of the lesson, she likes to play those games with me. So I am very proud of you, and I wish you the very best in your future music making. So again, just another shout out. Now, I have students that are working on Charlie Brown songs. Now, I know you've heard me say that in the past, but it seems to be this year, for some reason, I have more students than ever that want to work on Charlie Brown Christmas tunes. They are written by Vince Guaraldi, and so the main Charlie Brown theme song where they're always dancing together, that one, the Linus and Lucy song. And then I have students that are working on Christmas songs. Christmas time is here. So Christmas in June, that's what we are working on at this time of year, just trying to get ready for Christmas in December. So big shout out to those students. I like that they are thinking ahead in their music making, so already planning for 6 months away, believe it or not, and so that's a great thing. Now, I have a couple more shout outs just real quickly, and then I'm going to take a 2-minute music break just to prepare for the next segment, but I have some colleagues that have done some really great things in their music career. They've recently retired, so I want to give a shout out to them. I also would like to give a shout out to the colleagues that have received doctorate degrees and now they're looking for other jobs. Best wishes to you. And then colleagues that I'm networking with that have worked with me, I guess, to share students, meaning their students came from my studio because I could no longer work with them on a particular day and they needed a different day, a different time, but I was able to move them into another studio, and so they are doing great, and we just want to reconnect to make sure that we're keeping them on the right track. So big shout out to all the colleagues that I network with and just celebrating all of your accomplishments. So best wishes to you, and I'm really glad to know you. So I'm going to take a little bit of a music break. So you will hear some music in the background. So just if you can, Give me just a few seconds. It won't be quite 2 minutes, but I'll be right back. Enjoy the music. You're listening to CMajor before the show. That's right, before the radio show over on Blog Talk Radio. So if you are able to join me at 11 o'clock, I'm going to be over Blog Talk Radio for the CMajor radio show. And I'm going to share today's topic a little bit later on in the broadcast, but I hope you can join me over there because I'm going to be talking about your summer plans. What are you doing this summer? So music making ideas with CMajor, that's a little bit later, and I'll share more details about that show coming up a little bit later in today's broadcast before the show. Now, for the next 15 minutes, I'm going to be talking to you about my piano teaching methods. I have some research that I want to share. I'm working on my own method, believe it or not. I'm really excited about it. It's been many years coming, and it stems from a conversation that I had with a colleague a long, long time ago, and we were in graduate school together, and I said, I think I want to write a book. And she said, no, not book, Carol, method. And for a while, I didn't really understand what she meant, but having the experience that I have under my belt from piano teaching, I can see what she means, because methods come and go, books come and go, but I believe a teaching method that's based on research, based on experience, has a better chance of lasting than if you just wrote a book and said, here it is, learn from this book, because research is always changing. Research is updating. Your foundation for music making is your history, and that gives you a really solid foundation for music making. But I think that if you just rely on a book that may be published, that book can go out of print easily if it's not keeping up with the time. So I really appreciate that colleague for saying that to me at that particular time. So what are my piano teaching methods? Well, let me say this. I usually choose a method based on a student's learning style. So, for instance, if I know I have a student who moves around a lot, who they don't mind moving around a lot, then I will probably place them in a Faber method or something similar to Faber. Faber is spelled Faber. And in the past, on the CMajor radio show, I did talk a little bit more in depth about learning styles. So I won't do that here. I want to keep this show light, and I don't want to get too intense. I want to save that for over there, where I talk a little bit more intensely about the issues that come up with learning to play the piano, and to also share with you some stories at length. But Faber, if you have a chance to look it up, just Google search it, and you'll see the many, many methods that are out there that can help you to learn to play the piano if you don't mind moving around. So I was talking with a colleague about that, and she was saying that she was experiencing the same thing, that, when you have the students that aren't sure about how to go up and down the piano, they feel a little bit nervous, and so they may or may not want to move as much as you're asking them to move. For instance, if you have a student and you've placed their hands in the C position, and then you tell them to step out of that position, they may ask this simple question, where do my hands go? And they may ask that repeatedly. So you want someone to really get it. So I would say, again, if you have a student that is really active, they're already showing that they are comfortable switching octaves, they're comfortable switching hand positions, they don't have to see a middle C position as being the only position where their hands should go. They're comfortable, for instance, moving their thumb away from middle C and placing finger 2 on middle C, finger 3, finger 4, trying out different fingers in one set position. And then they're also comfortable trying to play it in a new position altogether. So you may ask them to transpose from C major to G major, for instance, or place your hands now in the F position, something like that. So I think Faber is really great. It's worked really well for my studio. And then another method, Hal Leonard. Now I really like the Hal Leonard method. Now I worked with a student. I was doing a trial lesson, and I was able to see that this student was comfortable with all 3 learning styles. And of course, there are more than 3 learning styles, but I look for 3. I look to see how visual the student is. I look to see how kinesthetic they are, and I also look to see how auditory they are. So this particular student has shown me that he is going to be interested more in the creative side of music making. In other words, he likes to make up his own piano songs. And to be so young, he's showing evidence of that, really wanting to play his own songs, and showing me every time I have a lesson with him, showing me how he's transposed. I have another student who would say to me, it sounds better when you play it up here. And in particular, he was talking about the Star Wars main theme. I taught that to him. And then he said, it sounds a little bit more like it if you play it over here in this place instead of that place. Now, he wasn't just switching octaves. He was actually switching keys. And to be so young to be able to do that, less than 7 years old. Now, the other method that I use is very close to my heart, and this is the Bastian method. So you may have heard me mention that on a previous broadcast. But Bastian is good for any students that are really, really diligent about their practicing, and they really want to get it. They really want to feel solid in knowing what they know about how to play the piano. And so I find that Bastian works really well for that, for students that really want to get it. And they like playing songs that are familiar to them. They don't mind playing original songs, but they just want to be super clear about the concepts that are being introduced. And so that's one of the methods that I also use in my studio. Now, Alfred. I like Alfred. What I like about it is that the illustrations are great. That's the first thing that comes to mind. So if you have a chance to, if you're a teacher and you are new to the Alfred method, then if you can, just get yourself to a music and arts store and just pull one off the shelf and just browse through it and let me know what you think. So I'm available off social media to have those types of conversations, and I welcome them. And it's fun. It's fun for me to talk about comparative methods, something that I learned about in undergrad. And so I like Alfred. I like Alfred a lot because I feel like they've really broadened their scope. So they aren't one of those publishing companies that will say, okay, this is the way that we've published it, this is the way it's going to stay, and we're not changing it. I've seen this company really grow over the years. So for instance, they even have a division for Broadway tunes and popular tunes. I don't know if division is the right word, but I've seen their growth in this area. So for my students that are into premier piano, for instance, and they really want to know songs that you hear from Broadway, from musicals, things of that nature, it's been really fun to see them grow in their publishing in that direction. Now, the last method that I'm going to mention is the Marley. And I hope I'm saying her name correctly. Helen Marley, Marlais. I really enjoy the Marley method. And I've been able to use it with a few of my students. And I like everything about the Marley method. I like the concept behind it. I watched a YouTube video of her being interviewed by someone who also revered her as a piano teacher. And so it was just nice to hear her discuss her ideas. So Dr. Marley has a method, and it's wonderful in my opinion. And I'm not trying to be a critic. I'm just saying that it's been very helpful in my studio to have students go through that book successfully. So to see them being able to understand concepts, to do the parrot play, to think about when they're learning staccato, just the whole imagery of it. I really like that you don't think about staccato as just staccato. You think about staccato as, what would a woodpecker do? What would a kangaroo do? You know, really giving you some imagery when it comes to how you're going to use your wrist action and things like that. So that's basically all I have for piano teaching methods, but I just wanted to give a shout out to anyone that is looking to get into these piano teaching methods, any teacher that's not afraid to switch methods as needed, because I've had to do that too. I've had students that started in one method with one teacher, and then when they came to me, my assessment of their learning style means that they would need to switch over to a different method. So I just want to give a shout out to anybody that is going through that in their studios and they're able to point their students in the right direction. So I guess a shout out. I did shout out in the first segment, but why not give a second shout out this time to all the teachers I've been able to network with over the years, and teachers that I'm networking with now, and anyone that's going through the idea of switching methods according to learning styles in their studios, and who have been able to do that successfully. So shout out for that. Okay, so as we wind down this segment, what I want to say is that for my method, what am I working on? What am I writing? Did I do my homework? That's the question, right? Well, I'm trying. I'm trying to do my homework, and I mentioned this on the CMajor radio show. It's just, I'm still fascinated about it. I happened to be with a student who lived in a home where they inherited a piano. So I don't know if there are any teachers that are listening to the broadcast where you've had that case where a student has moved into a brand new home and somehow a piano came with that home. And so what happened was we were looking together inside the bench of the piano and just really discovered a treasure. To me, it was a treasure because inside the piano bench were all of these books from the 50s. All of these books teaching people to play the piano. And one of the books said, "Play piano by color." And I have done an episode on this topic on the CMajor radio show, but I didn't really delve into what the book had on the inside. I think I did a little bit, just dabbled in it, but I really liked what it was saying, easy as pie. Now, the songs, a little bit controversial, I have to say, because we're talking about Stephen Foster. It's Stephen Foster edition, and some of the songs, if you know your history, you might feel a little bit strange learning to play these songs, especially with the words that are in the lyrics of the songs. But I think there's some merit to the way that this book is organized. And again, it's one of those books, as my colleague was saying many years ago, that it goes out of print and then you don't have it any longer. So it's better to really focus on method than it is to focus on a book. But Play Piano by Color excites the desire to study. So I guess what I'm going to be looking at for research for my own book, my own teaching method, is is there any merit to learning to play the piano by color? If you go over to YouTube, you'll see many videos that will have people learning to play songs, today's songs, by just following the colors that are streaming in the video, that you can visually see the colors in the video telling you which keys to press. So this book is a little bit different than that, so I'm going to be taking a closer look just to see if there's anything I can pull away from that to develop my own teaching methods. And also, to be honest, looking at some of the songs too. There may be some value in some of these folk tunes. If the words have been changed, I will be looking at that. And if it's even necessary to use the words, can I just use the melody without offending anyone? That's some of the things I'm going to be looking at. Now, I'm going to move into the last segment, and I will be right back. Enjoy the music, and I'll see you in a few minutes. And welcome back to this last segment of C Major before the show. And I've invited you to tune into the C Major radio show. So let me just say a little bit more about what I'm going to be talking about a little bit later, in about an hour and 14 minutes from now. I'm going to be talking about what are you doing this summer? So music making ideas with C Major. So you're thinking about how to spend your summer with music making. Are you planning to travel? Will you be spending time on the beach? Maybe you're thinking about taking advantage of a summer concert series somewhere. Whatever the case may be, tune in to the C Major radio show next time. C Major will talk about your summer plans and how to keep your connections with events in your community. Look for family-friendly concerts, clap-alongs, sing-alongs, dance-along concerts, music under the stars concerts, band performances for 4th of July celebrations. There are also opportunities for music seminars, workshops, and camps that offer a more intensive active music making experience. What are you doing this summer? Music making ideas with C Major. That's next time on the C Major radio show. And so that's a description of today's show, and so I hope you can join me for that. And I also want to give a shout out. Lots of shout outs today. I said that I wasn't going to do shout outs every segment, that the first segment is really devoted to shout outs, but I'm going to give a shout out here in the third segment too. And that's to the student who is my number one fan. I have to kind of laugh about that. I have to kind of chuckle about that because we said it in a joking manner that he was my number one fan, because he actually, for the first time, I've had a student, he actually requested to hear me play a song and to see me playing the song on video. So I have posted that video. If you happen to go over to YouTube and you look up CMajor plays The Weathering Storm, CMajor plays Weathering the Storm. What did I say? The Weathering Storm? CMajor plays Weathering the Storm. So that's one of the tunes that I've written, and I hope you have a chance to check it out. It really is a fun video. It's a private video that happens to be posted in a public place, but feel free to take a look at it. It's not there for any particular reason other than the fact that I have a student that requested to see me play the song after hearing a recording of the song. So I may get more requests like that in the future. If you have a request yourself, something that you'd like to see me play live or play on a YouTube video and actually demonstrate me playing, as opposed to just seeing a picture with the song just playing underneath a still picture, that you want to actually see me playing the song, then let me know. I'll be happy to connect with you. I've toned down my social media a little bit, I would have to say. So I no longer have CMajorPorter.com as an active place for you to go for subscriptions and so forth. But I think I have enough going on social media right now that if you tap into my private Twitter account, is it private? It may be public now. My Facebook, which I believe is private, and where else am I? Of course, CMajor's Classroom. Feel free to join me over there. Now, that I have not made CMajorsClassroom.com just yet. It's CMajorsClassroom.wordpress.com, because I'm still trying out the site to see how they do things over there and to see if I can develop any real interest into what I post over there. So there will be some updates. Again, school is out because I'm not looking to post any homework throughout the summer, but I am going to ask for any summertime research that you've been working on, and you'll just see me just posting little ideas throughout the summer, maybe some fun posts, more fun posts than in the past, and not necessarily a homework assignment, but just more just keeping in touch type posts, just letting you know what I'm working on and placing that as part of my content. Okay, so here we are in the last 7 minutes or so of the CMajor Before the Show episode. And so I hope you've gotten something out of today's episode. I really wanted to focus more on teaching methods. And so for this last segment, I'm also going to share with you what I'm doing with my performing. So I've shared a little bit already that I gave a private YouTube performance to one of my students. And when I see the student in his next lesson, I'm also going to be playing that song live, or another song that he seems to enjoy. So shout out to him and his family. For encouraging the music of CMajor. So I really appreciate that. Okay, so did I tell you about the time I performed at the National Underground in New York? Is that a story that you'd like to hear? If so, see me offline. See me off social media. I'd be happy to share that story with you. But the National Underground in New York is no longer there, from what I understand. As a matter of fact, I met the owners, and we were talking about piano lessons for their family as well. So I performed there. I thought it was a great venue, and I'm sorry to see that it was no longer there, but at the same time, I had a great time. That was when I was just starting out playing shows in New York as CMajor, toward the beginning of that, and so it was a great experience. Now, I have a new profile that I've posted, so for anyone looking to take piano lessons with me in the greater New York City area, please check out this profile. Let me know what you think about it. I have not linked my social media to this profile, so it's a little bit different in that regard. It's just a standalone profile, and I'm happy to say that I learned about this particular site from one of my colleagues. So I believe it's doremi.com. Not quite sure if that's the name of the website, but check with me to make sure that I give you the correct title, and I can send you a link as well to look at the profile if it is, in fact, a public profile that's been posted, because it's really recent that I signed up for this. So, again, if you're looking for someone to work with you with your piano skills, I'm just hesitating because I'm trying to think how people say it. Piano skills, music making, all of the above. If you even need help with music theory over the summer, I'd be happy to work with you. And so that's what that profile is for. So outside of what I do in the studio, outside of what I do with traveling and so forth, this is just an alternative way to get in touch with me, to see how I can help you and if you need my help. So, thank you so much for tuning in to CMajor Before the Show. It's been a great pleasure to be with you today. Again, I invite you today to tune in for the CMajor radio show. Meet me over at CMajor's classroom, because I will be doing a new post over there as well. And again, it's a fun post for the summer. I'm going to be posting mostly things that I'm doing with my research and just sharing some really, I guess, interesting summer ideas, summer music making ideas. So see me over there for that at CMajor's Classroom. Again, the address is cmajorsclassroom.wordpress.com. So I look forward to connecting with you over there. So as we close out today's Before the Show, I just want to encourage you to find a way to make music this summer, however you can. Maybe go to a concert, go to a show, talk to someone about music making, talk to someone about your music dreams, maybe attend a workshop. There are some wonderful music making opportunities that are going on in the city. Passive music making activities as well as active. I believe I read somewhere that they are putting out more pianos on the street in New York City. So definitely check to see if there may be an opportunity for you to just stumble up on a piano and just sit down and play a tune. I feel that I've seen and heard about so many classically trained pianists that just left their music making on the table. Self-taught pianists who, for some reason, just stopped playing. But more than ever, in today's world, we need music. We need music to resonate with how you're feeling on the inside. We need music to help you get through whatever it is that you're going through, to improve your mood, to improve your overall wellness and well-being. And we just need music to stay in touch with each other and just to connect. So, whatever you do, find a way to make music. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time right here on Spreaker for C major before the show.